In this video, we're going to talk about the midpoint formula. Now, I can find the midpoint of a line segment given on the coordinate plane, where if I have two endpoints, call it x1 and x1, y1, x2, y2, of a line segment, the midpoint of that line segment is going to be the average of my x values and the average of my y values. So the middle number of my x's and the middle number of my y's. And we're going to start off doing this graphically, and you kind of see how this midpoint formula works. So I want to find the midpoints of a line segment that has the endpoints of -8, -10, and 0, 0. All right, so I'm going to put point B here at 0, 0. And point A is at -8, -10, and so that's going to be right here. Now, graphically, one way to look at this is, let's make a rectangle. And so if I make a rectangle where I have my two vertical legs of my rectangle this way, and then I have my two horizontal legs going this direction here. Now, the midpoint of my rectangle is going to be right smack in the middle of this rectangle. So the midpoint of my line segment is going to be located where the two diagonals cross. So it's going to be located right here at that intersection. Now, what I'm going to show you is basically what you're going to do is you're going to take and figure out what the middle number is of each leg. So for instance, I started with 0 and I went to -8. So I go find the number that's in the middle. The number that's in the middle is -4. So -4 is going to be the x value of that coordinate. And now I'm going to go find the y value and go find the middle number of my y's. Well, I started with y was 0 and I went all the way down to -10. So the number that's in the middle there is going to be -5. And so the -5 gives me the y value of that point. So my midpoint here, graphically, is going to be at -4, -5. So graphically, I'm just going to plot everything and figure out the middle numbers. Well, that's no different than if I'm doing it using an equation. So if I'm given an equation, or excuse me, not given an equation, if I'm given the endpoints of a line segment, I'm given endpoints of 7, -2, and 1, -10. I want to find the midpoint. Midpoint's the middle. So we're going to find the middle x. So I'm going to write that as mx. So mx, basically you're going to take the x's, add them together, divide them by 2. So 7, 7 and 1, because that's x1 and x2. And I'm going to divide them by 2, so that gives me 8/2, which gives me 4. So that's the x value of my midpoint. And then I'm going to do the same thing for my y. So I'm going to find the middle y's. So I use -2 and -10. You add them together because I'm averaging them to find the middle and divide by 2. So -2 plus -10 is -12. Divided by 2 makes -6. So my midpoint I write as a coordinate where I have the middle x number, comma, the middle y number. So our midpoint is going to be 4, -6. Now this one we are given some different kind of information. I'm actually given the midpoint and I want to find the other endpoint here. So I'm given my midpoint and I know that one endpoint is 2, 8. So I know that I have an x value and a y value. And I just need to know what the other endpoint is. Well, we'll let the other endpoint be x2, y2. And remember what our midpoint equation is. So I haven't really used our midpoint equation yet, but our midpoint equation says that a midpoint coordinate. So I'm going to write it as mx, my. That is equal to the coordinate that is the average of the x numbers, so x1 plus x2 divided by 2, comma, the average of your y numbers, y1 plus y2/2. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to break that up into two equations. So mx, my midpoint x, is equal to x1 plus x2/2. So my midpoint x equals x1 plus x2 divided by 2. Well, my midpoint x number is 4. So I'm going to put that where mx is. So 4 equals x1 is 2. So 4 equals 2 plus x2 over 2. So I'm trying to find for that x2. So that's my x coordinate. To solve this, what you're going to do is you're going to multiply by 2. I'm going to get rid of that 2 that I'm dividing by. That's going to give me 8 equals 2 plus x2. And then you're going to subtract by 2. And I get 6. So 6 is the x coordinate, or the x value of that coordinate. Now I got to do the same thing for y's. So my midpoint y is going to equal y1 plus y2 divided by 2. Well, our midpoint y is 4. So I'm going to say 1 equals, and then my y value of the point that's given is 8. That's y1. So I have 8 plus y2 divided by 2. And then we solve. So we solve it just like we did the other one. We're going to multiply by the number that we're dividing by. So I'm going to multiply by 2. That's going to give me 2 equals 8 plus y2. Then we subtract by 8. 2 minus 8 makes negative 6. And so there's the y value of that point. So my coordinate here for that other endpoint, the other endpoint is going to be 6 comma negative 6.